We are live with Dr. Gail Ann and Dr. Michael in episode 2 of Cry Rate, the podcast that gives you great information on not only the way to resilience, but a path toward healing. We're breaking the silence, Dr. Gail.
Yes, we are. We're finding holistic ways to live and be healthy. Yeah.
Definitely. So you just got out of class. Did you do this case study in class? Was that
I
tonight?
did. So we went through several different things. I did this last night, and at the end, I was able to end with it. And so what I asked is that they go back and reread the case study and answer those 3 questions. So they also have a project coming up that deals with trauma, and they have to find some sort of modality to, So they will. I think it was a good start to get them in the right direction. So yeah.
Oh yeah. Was that undergrad or graduate?
Graduate.
Oh wow. Okay.
Yeah.
First year and second year.
Study now, Michael.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Serious. Okay. Well, get ready because we'll have a case every week. And what we're doing with these cases, I thought, of course, we're developing the show as we go because we said, forget trying to make it perfect. Let's do something. Let's get out there. Let's start to have these conversations. So I thought after looking over last week, it would be great to have a case that centers what we're doing. So we'll have a case every week that gets into the types of things that we see in our practice. I'm a coach, you're a licensed therapist, you have
so I must do. I'm glad you said that. So there needs to be some disclaimer. So I'm no longer a clinical therapist. I don't practice that as far as practice that anymore. And I will get into that sometime in the near future. So I am a trained clinical social worker. I work at a university teaching social work practice. I am also a coach. I'm also a motivational speaker. And so at your own discretion, the information that we're sharing, it's for your edification and you use them accordingly. They're for information purposes. We got to make a disclaimer, dude. You want to come to sue you. Understand?
In other words, don't come for me.
Don't come for me. If you need help and you know that we're talking about issues that you really can benefit from, find a clinical person who can help you through the process. Yeah. So this is just information for now, but we'll get into the clinical side of things and why and how. Right?
Yeah. Well, of course, because that's kind of the thing. And I'm sure it's similar to my story, but that's the background. And now we're looking for ways to connect this to the masses. Like we said at the beginning, break the silence.
Yeah.
So without further ado, we've got 3 segments for which to engage this. We're looking at fostering resilience, promoting health, and facilitating healing. But it begins with this case, which is a real case. So we're going to get into that. You ready?
All right, you go ahead, tell the story, and I will add my piece.
Yep. Even better. Watch this.
Oh, okay.
Title: Translating Self-Awareness into Personal Growth, Embracing Opportunities for Change. Synopsis: highlighting the value of self-awareness for personal growth and recovery and providing strategies for translating self-awareness into actionable growth and change. Disclaimer: the following case is based on true events. It reflects the host's recollections of experiences. Some names and characteristics have been changed to obscure identities. Some events have been compressed and some dialogue has been recreated for emphasis. The case study is not meant to identify any person. It is provided for illustrative purposes only, approximating what may occur in real life.
Carter was a 41-year-old male who approached us with a desire to overcome the adverse effects of social violence on his personal and professional life. Carter's story is a compelling illustration of the critical role self-awareness plays in personal growth and recovery. With a successful career in the special education, Carter represented the archetype of professional accomplishment. However, beneath the surface, he grappled with his unresolved trauma, leading to diminished self-worth and strained interpersonal relationships. He was a child of adoption who overcame the loss of his mother, never knowing his father. He was raised by his aunt who was verbally abusive and unapologetically played favorites, providing less quality care and materials to Carter compared to his cousins. His aunt talked down to him, instilling an inner voice that was destructive to his inner child. He was teased by his cousins and bullied in school. Despite this, Carter chose to be the person he never had in his life: caring, kind, and considerate. He comes to us because he believes he is too hard on himself. He once spoke to himself with more caring after being exposed to the concept of Love Yourself First, LYF, by Dr. Michael A. Wright. Upon initial consultation, we identified the core human need of safety as being central to Carter's concerns. His motivation to seek change was internally high, driven by a profound desire to reclaim his sense of agency and confidence. Yet, Carter was in the contemplation stage of consistency, aware of his need for change but uncertain about the steps required to initiate it. Our approach centered on fostering Carter's self-awareness, an indispensable foundation for personal transformation. The plan was to translate self-awareness into personal growth.
So self-awareness into personal growth. And this idea, I like, and you'll tell me, as we go forward, I'm sure, how you're feeling about this thing, but I'm liking this idea. Another element I thought would be really cool is if we look at these core human needs that people have and they bring, and we so in this case, Carter's took the survey and safety is the most important thing to him. He's really looking at finding that safety that he didn't have. He's looking at healing that inner child. That's a typical thing that we all have to wrestle with. He's in the contemplation stage of consistency, which is a conception that I just made up. But the idea is...
Well, there's such a thing as contemplation where you actually, in therapy.
Yeah, applying it to consistency. But yeah, the stages of change model is exactly, trans-theoretical model is exactly the model. And then where is his motivation? In this case, it's high. So that gives us a little bit to work with in terms of not even knowing his whole psychosocial, but knowing these things about him, where he is in his process. And so we address this through our 3 segments. And so our first segment, fostering resilience. What's your first reactions to this case, Dr. Gale? Dr. Gale.
As far as fostering resilience for Carter.
But even in general, what's kind of your first takeaway?
As far as it needs to be self-awareness. In order for me to be resilient, I need to know that I need help. I need to be aware of it, understanding why am I in the situation? Why is it happening to me? What can I do to change? I don't like it anymore. I need change. So there must be some sort of self-awareness. It's the first step to anything. What you think in your mind first, before you could manifest it, it has to happen here. And so by happening in your mind, and we can talk a bit about cognitive behavioral therapy as well, how that works. But I think of self-awareness first, right? Knowing that he needs change. And it appears that Carter knows this. He sees, he went through the trauma, he went through the issues with his aunts, and learned that this is not what he wants. there is a phrase, the false self, right? You live, and we'll get into that, right? So in addition to self-awareness, right? And cut me anytime, Dr. Right? You could jump because I could talk and
Sure,
talk and
sure.
talk. And so in addition to self-awareness, children who would have been, or even people, anybody in general, would have been, who would have experienced abuse, experienced trauma, experienced all those things. They find themselves showing up in ways to please because they want the love, they want the attention, and that pleasing is not who they truly are. And sometimes parents or caregivers don't even understand what that is for them. And so, in creating a false self, they grow up thinking, that they have to always be who they're not, so they can gain the help. So you find people being over giving or over loving, over giving attention, right? Because they want to control the love. And then, but that could lead into some serious issues, right? Down the road. Not having self-awareness, to know that you need the help, or creating a self, to gain the love and the attention you so desire. So the first thing is self-awareness, period.
Yeah, so you're it's a nice parallel that you're drawing, because and maybe a distinction, because you can have self-awareness like Carter has, but he knows that he's not utilizing it to his benefit for growth. So you can be self-aware, and I see actually there are a lot of people in that situation. Even in my coaching, people will say things like, well, yeah, I know I need to change this, and I'm working on this, and I'm working on changing that, and I'm trying to do better with this. And all of that to me says that they're self-aware, but you still have to have something tangible that helps you scaffold that, make that into growth. And so that's a good point. I like that.
Yeah, I think also, saying that I am self-aware is not enough, or saying the thing that comes out of your mouth that you think you should be saying. Yeah, I need to change. But is it really
Yeah.
self-awareness, Doctor?
And people have a lot of that. Like you
That's
said,
the
the
thing. To me,
pleasing, the pleasing piece.
self-awareness in that term for me, right? So self-awareness in that whole term says it's holistic for me. So if I am self-aware, saying it is one thing. So cognitively, you know that the situation is bad, so you say, but the action step that you need to get there, it is not there, right? But to me,
Mhm.
fully comprehensible self-awareness is where I not only know, but I am taking the steps, right? That personal growth. I am taking the steps to get through the personal growth, to become better, to learn, to do better, whatever it is, right? To remove myself from stuff, or from maladaptive behaviors or maltreatment or whatever, right? So I am aware, I know, oftentimes, especially in abuse too, Doctor, right? People who are abused know that it's wrong. Know that I should not be talking to that way, or people should not be beating me up, beating up on me, right? That they know that that is wrong. But how do you move from knowing to actually a plan?
Yeah. Yeah. Yep. That's the critical element. And so in our fostering resilience segment, the whole idea here is to answer that question. So what's the theoretical framework we're working with today? You said a little bit about it. CBT, cognitive behavioral therapy, and we're adding in a little bit of positive psychology. Do you have a sense of why that is?
Because they work hand in
Why
hand.
those two together?
Because it one complements the other. So to know cognitively the right, I know I need change. I'm self-aware. I know that this needs to happen, needs to change. Cognitively, this is happening. Positive psychology says, okay, so it's happening, but what's the steps, right? How we get this. So they work hand in hand with each other. We know that cognitive behavioral therapy is what it is. We think,
Mhm.
and then what we move from our mind to the action step, to what we're going to do to be better, to get to where we need to go, right? And so clinician would aid clients in the way that, talking themselves through what it is that they need to talk to. And then positive psychology comes in with positive reinforcement, and that could manifest itself in action steps as well.
Definitely. And the big thing for me with positive psychology is really just the theoretical frame that things do get better.
Mhm.
That you can look at a situation,
Mhm.
and even though it looks down,
Mhm.
it can move incrementally up
Mhm.
because it there's an opportunity within this psychological view
Mhm.
that things aren't always negative.
Right.
Things aren't always positive either,
Right. 'Cause it's
but
like,
they're not always negative. And you don't have to rely on the situation to tell you whether you're happy or sad.
Mhm.
You can have joy, is the way that I talk about it,
Mhm.
even when things don't look so good outside or when things look great outside. What
Mhm.
the situation doesn't determine your joy.
Right.
And that's a really important piece as you combine those in the
Mhm.
context of resilience.
So,
Do
Dr.
you
Wright,
have
I'm asking you a question, right?
sure.
In that same space. So, when a person, from your experience, from clients you may have worked with,
Hmm.
when a person is experiencing a decline in mental, emotional health, even something negative happened, they find themselves in a rut and can't seem to get out of it. So, we're talking about self awareness, we're talking about resilience. How can one get themselves to even know, recognize that they need the change, right? And they need
Yeah.
to this positive psychology, right? How do they
Mhm.
know? What have you seen in your field of practice?
Yeah, I the biggest thing for me is because it's so important that there's intrinsic motivation that the person wants to change themselves.
Mhm.
There has to be that situation that simply stated, they have to be sick and tired of being
Mhm.
sick and tired. When they recognize that self-awareness is that I definitely need to do something because I cannot continue in this way. And that's where the opportunity for personal growth comes in. And that's our second segment to talk about the opportunities for engaging with professionals.
Mhm.
But just suffice to say here that recognizing that there is that opportunity, that you're not happy with what's going on, you know that there could be something different that's
Mhm.
available.
Mhm.
And then submitting yourself, and this is the hardest thing for people, and the
Mhm.
question I have for you
Mhm.
about how you get people, even when they're wanting to change, how do
Mhm.
you get them to submit
Mhm.
to that kind of opportunity or the process, trusting the
Mhm.
process when they want to try to take on how it works. You see this in a spiritual kind of context or even religious type of context where people are like, trust the process. God is
Mhm.
going to do it in his time.
Mhm.
And yet people are like, no, this ain't fast enough.
Mhm.
I'm trusting God, but I need him to move. Like,
Mhm.
the deadline's coming. That kind of thing. How do you get people to trust that process?
That right there is the $1 million question. And you're right. Everybody want things happen right now. It's microwave. Put in the microwave, pop it out, and I'm gonna be well. I'm gonna be happy. I'm gonna be okay. I think trusting the process is learning how to embrace the process. So when a person is being abused, when a person is hurting, embrace the anger, the sadness. Like they're real emotions. I think when we try to bury and cover and mask and get
Mm,
into another situation or remove ourselves so quickly, then it repeats itself because the time was never took to clean, to heal, to process. Why are you
mhm,
angry? It's okay to be angry now. Something happened. It's a natural emotion. And this is why you're gonna need those clinical person to help you along those way, right? But trusting the process means I am angry. I'm gonna tell you that I'm angry. I'm pissed as hell. Can I say hell on this
mhm,
podcast? Right? I
mhm,
am pissed, right? But work through it honestly. Because if you don't, you're gonna come back to it. Or that you're gonna find yourself in funk, FUNK, in another situation in a relationship that you have to deal with it. So if it's anger, deal with the anger. When somebody die in your family and you feel sad about it, deal with it. Like, be sad. It's okay to be sad, right? when joy comes, be joyous about whatever it is. So whatever emotion, and that's trusting the process. Whatever emotion you're feeling about a situation, your people were mean to you. Yeah, I'm angry. Why? I mean, why they have to be mean to me? You know, deal with it. And dealing with it is saying you again self-aware. I am angry. This has happened. Right? How am I going to move forward from here? What are the steps I'm going to do to get to from point A to point B? Right? So trusting the process is okay, and it's necessary. Those emotions are necessary for you to go through. It's like the grieving process, right? And they don't always have to happen in sequence or in order. You could be angry one way, then you're bargaining another, or you know, whatever the rest. Well, I can't remember right now. You know what I mean, right? So you go through all of these. I think it's five. These five different changes. But do it because doing it is healthy. It is healthy for you to get through the process. It is healthy to own. It is healthy to say, I made mistakes, right? Truly, it is healthy. Be a human being. That's just in the process. I made a mistake, right? Pissed that I made a mistake, waste my damn time for so long. Be vexed all you want, but get out of it. So I'm vexed. What's the plan now? How do I move forward, moving from here?
Yes, the moving forward. Yeah, that's the translating it from just self-awareness into growth.
Mm-hmm.
All right, let's take 30 seconds on our break and get into our second segment where we're talking about the path.
Mm-hmm.
So we're getting into our second segment, promoting health. And in this segment, I think for me, you tell me what your big takeaway is, but the biggest thing for me with Carter, he's talking about his self-talk, you know, how he talks to himself, because basically, you know, you grow up in trauma and you have that voice in your head from the person who is the most horrible, right? When you critique yourself, it's typically that voice. And some people have made that voice their own voice. And that is incredibly crippling. You know, it's like that inner child is still being berated by the people that were supposed to take care of them and supposed to support their self-esteem. The thing that's really funny, or I think really critical and interesting to me, is not only the training in terms of the cognitive behavioral therapy, but the nutrition and fitness
The help, huh?
go into a holistic, you said that earlier, a holistic intervention for this person is not just the mental health, but the fitness and the nutrition, which then allow them to engage in positive relationships as a way to continue the holistic process of retraining that brain.
I took a sneak peek, so I was multitasking. I listened to your previous presentation. I thought it was really good. Maybe I need to be all honest about myself. Like, Lord, I need help financially so I could come. Be true, you said. That was the piece that I took away from that. Be honest with yourself. You need the help, Gail. And so I'm thinking about doing something where that is concerned. But so yes, you talk very much well about the health, and so we're doing financial fitness, but it's also how do we get our body and mind mentally sleep. I heard the sleep part, getting ourselves healthy, and so it is so true. Oftentimes when we are experiencing difficulties, we don't always want to think about the healthy part of us, as far as, do I get up and still meditate? Do I get up and still pray? Do I get up and exercise? Do I eat healthy? Either you don't eat at all, or that you eat too much drunk, you know, the chips and the sodas and the whatever else it is. And I have recently started a health regimen. I feel so proud of myself. Yes, I got up in the morning and I look at myself and say, Gail, positive psychology, you're beautiful, you're going to be healthy, you're going to get through this, right? So yeah, so back to my train of thought. But Where was I? I just went to a whole nother place. Help me out, Michael.
Right. But that's where you get into it. You're talking about how you're doing it yourself,
Right,
but
right, right,
the positive psychology piece,
right.
but not realizing a lot of people don't realize that that's the holistic approach.
That's the holistic
And that's where
approach.
you were earlier even.
Right,
Like
right,
it's not just one thing or the other. It really
right,
is
right.
pulling together all the
All the
pieces
pieces, right?
and
So yeah,
recognizing that
yeah.
that's a part of that translating self-awareness into growth is addressing those multiple pieces. You don't have to do it all at once,
All at once.
but you can engage all of yourself in how you
And
approach and how you show
honestly,
up for yourself.
when you have recognized and you are committed, you're right. All the pieces are not going to come all at once, right? But as you get, and this is to me, that's healing. So I say that healing is a process, but when healing happens, it's done,
Hmm.
right? You're healed holistically. So you may say, well, I get over this one piece, but then something else is, you know, right in your face. Like, oh, I need to fix this too. Like, I need to get help where this is concerned. So healing to me, it's a process that is holistic, that takes a whole journey. But when you're done, eh? Now,
Yeah.
there are events in your life that will continuously find yourself in position in growth that I'm growing. But I'm going back to, I get my thoughts back. So we're talking about um, the physical part, right? You're going through what you're going through. You're now aware. Part of that plan is to also, how do I get my physical on track as well? My mind, but my physical body. Because when you are mentally strong and physically strong, you can definitely, right? The one prayer that comes to my mind is that serenity prayer. Help me to accept the things that I cannot change or whatever, how that is.
Hmm.
Me out there. Um,
Yep.
and so if you say, it says accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, right? So you can't really change your past and how people behave or how they treat you. People, you cannot change people from giving you what they have, because they give you what they have. You may want something else from them, but they don't have it to give you. So you're gonna have to accept that. That's just what they do. That's who they are. That's not your business, right? But take the courage to change what you can. You can change by no longer listening. You can change by no longer being in that environment. You can change by seeking the help you need, right? To become that whole and healthy person, mentally, physically, do your exercise, emotionally, spiritual, whatever it is that you need to do, right? Is what you do. That's the courage. Take courage to do those things for you. And it's holistic, right? But when you're
Yeah.
done, you're a beautiful person, right?
Yeah.
You exude
I
that,
like that.
feel
I
that, right?
like that. The health, the healing is there and it's done and it's you get that, and then the growth is the continual part. I like that. I like that because it
Yeah.
really gives you that opportunity to call it done. I think that's a really good point for people. You know, you're working on this, you're looking at an opportunity to get past this, and
Mm-hmm.
like you said, things come up, but those don't count those as the same things,
Mm-mm. The
because
whole
you're
different story.
it's a different thing to tackle. Your
Mm-hmm.
healing says
Mm-hmm.
that you not that you can handle the same thing over and over.
Mm-hmm.
No, your healing says I'm back to my homeostasis. I'm
Mm-hmm.
I'm a
Balance.
beautiful person, as you say, and
Mm-hmm.
then when whatever comes, I can
Mm-hmm.
address it when it comes,
Mm-hmm.
and addressing new things, addressing some of those same triggers maybe, but
Mm-hmm.
that's the growth as opposed
Mm-hmm.
to the healing. I like that. I'm gonna have to write that up somewhere.
So here's back on that point, right? Talking about the growth. So here's something that I have learned through this healing journey is that when you are healed, it gives other people permission to also do the same, right?
Mm,
And that in your healing, right, you can see BSs. You can see clearly. It don't come. People will want to pull you into things and go, well, you know. I go, yeah, that may be, but right now, this is what I am saying, and I'm not that. I'm no longer that, right?
yeah,
So when
yeah.
you heal, you give people permission to also heal. It heals them from the
Nice.
brokenness around them as well. But that is holistic healing, eh? And the growth part, Michael, is that even if you have gone through this one situation here, you're healed enough, you have enough wisdom to know that was that situation, right? And that you have already have the experience, the growth, the knowledge, whatever it is that you need to know. I don't want to repeat that, right? And even if
Yeah.
this is another
Yeah.
situation here, I can take the lessons learned and navigate in my way through this and be gone somewhere else, right?
Yeah,
And
I
go
like that. Like it's the serenity prayer again, the wisdom to know the difference.
to know the
You
difference.
know, at the end of all that courage and all of that acceptance is wisdom.
Mm-hmm.
And like you're saying, there's as you look at your healing holistically over time,
Mm-hmm.
it's wisdom that you come
Mm-hmm.
up with. Things just it's not that things don't bother you anymore. It's just you've been there, done that.
I
I'm
kind of
not afraid,
right.
right? The
Mm-mm.
dog can run up to me and be all
Mm-hmm.
barking and his teeth showing and all that. I'm gonna stare at him
Mm-hmm.
because I know about dogs.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I'm
And
not
I'm going
gonna
to
run
tell
away,
you that I am angry
right?
about what is happening right now, but it has nothing to do with what it was before, right? And
Exactly.
that is true healing. When you can find yourself in spaces like that and being confident in knowing and identifying, right, what things are, you know you've gone through that. You know that ain't bothering you anymore. And even if it's a new issue here, you know you have the wisdom. That's the takeaway
Yeah,
and the strength to get through this in a way that is
perfect,
healthy. Yeah.
perfect. So the path for you describe this path for Carter, perfect. And then I want to add a couple other things. Volunteering and joining support groups, I
Mm-hmm.
think, are important for Carter's recovery moving forward. And there
Mm-hmm.
are a couple of things that I see in that. One is that he gets around different people because I
Good.
think you're trying to retrain your inner voice and how you
Mm-hmm.
speak to your inner child. And
Mm-hmm.
if you get yourself around supportive people that speak well of you, that
Mm-hmm.
that starts to get inside you. The
Mm-hmm.
other thing I think people, instead of people pleasing like you were talking about before, start recognizing an opportunity for service.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't mean serving people in that
Mm-hmm.
way.
A
I
need.
mean recognizing that you have something that you can
Mm-hmm.
help people with.
Mm-hmm.
That's the type of thing. Because again, it retrains
Your
your inner
mind.
discussion about
Mm-hmm.
yourself.
Mm-hmm.
You're not worthless. You're not, you
Mm-hmm.
know, somebody who's a throwaway. You have something
Mm-hmm.
of value to
Mm-hmm.
give to people.
Mm-hmm.
And the more you show up with that and show up
Mm-hmm.
as your best with that, the
Mm-hmm.
more you train yourself
Mm-hmm.
that's literally how you should always show up.
Mm-hmm.
And there's value to how you show up.
Mm-hmm. I think that I think I think that every last one of us, I don't know that we live this life for ourselves. Even when life isn't good, it is still a lesson for somebody else. And sometimes you are it, right? God choose you to go through that because maybe He knows that you might be strong enough to withstand, right? And you could use the experience you have to help somebody else, right? So I think when folks go through things, when folks have experience about things, I think part of again that healing, that plan, that get them through on the other side, is sharing, right? And when you're sharing from a place of heal. So you're not trying to bother people and talk bad about people. He did this, she did that. You're saying, you know what? I went through this experience. This is what it did for me. This is what I have learned, and I'm offering you those same values, right? That
Yeah.
bad or good, we all are valuable being again with people, and this is another thing too, Michael, in growth, when we're growing and we're becoming that good, that better person, that better version of ourselves, we find ourselves in spaces that seems uncomfortable. Not that it's not good for us, but because the no, the chaos, the craziness was what it was for you, and you get accustomed to that. But here is the peace, the serenity. I'm growing, I'm learning things. I'm with positive people. They're influential to me. And somehow you start feeling all kind of crazy and I'm like, oh, what's going on? That is great. It's a great place to be, right? Just stick it out. Keep going. Keep doing until you get comfortable
Yeah.
with that. And even when that becomes comfortable, you move again to another stage. That's how we know. We see these different segments of growth, right? Trust in the process.
That's it. That's it. Trust the process. All right. Let's get ready for segment number 3. All right, segment number 3, we're talking about facilitating healing. Facilitating healing has to do with making this practical, Dr. Gill, and it's a daily situation. So what are the types of things that Carter needs to do, not just in terms of that mindset from the first segment, the trust in the process in the second segment? What is it daily that we're going to see him doing?
I think now, as he went through all those prior, now it's the action steps. The action steps that he's going to need to take, and that may be different as our faces are different. People have different ways and different habits in getting them through it, right? I think of something about spending time. I listened again to your previous podcast. I really like that, so I'm going to try to join next time around. So set aside some time um, for himself in the mornings or in the day, during the day, or whatever. Um, Set aside some time as well to meet with a therapist, as he would have done in the case study. Um, to get him through, to talk him through the process of how he can get better at what it is. So having a plan, creating habits now, removing himself. He already done that from the abuse. All right. So I'm no longer hearing these negative talks and you know derogatory terms. So start repeating positive affirmation to himself, the positive psychology, right? That I can get through this. I'm the head, so not the tail. I am prosperous. Whatever I put my hands to will prosper. Whatever it is that he needs, I'm a giver. I'm a lover. I can love and be healed from a place that is deep. The core of me is kind, is gentle. Whatever it is that he do, right? So you find ways to start creating habits. In helping and loving self. It's your term. What's your term about love self first? Yeah,
Yeah.
start loving yourself first. That's the first step, really, and it's an important step now. Because if you don't love yourself, you can't love nobody else. To me, that
Exactly.
is the very core of self-care, is loving yourself. And loving yourself show up and manifests itself in ways that it is not only good for you, but good for those that you are around, right? Your attitude changes, how you respond to things and respond to people, loving yourself, right? People see you differently and respect you more, loving yourself. So Carter need to start with that self-love first, developing a plan, how he's going to show up to the world, leveling up, right? But spending time with self, nurturing self, and so that he can be what he needs to be in his community.
Definitely. Definitely. And that's why I wrote the book, because I had clients who I had asked them if they love themselves, and they'd be like, yeah, I love myself. And I'm like, so when you make a mistake, what do you say to yourself?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, dumbass, why did you do? Wait, that's what you say to
Yes,
yourself?
right.
What would you say if you had a child or a best friend who made a mistake? Would you jump on them and call them names, or would you work with them to find
Mhm.
solutions? Right. So what
Mhm.
you're telling me is you love other people
And
more
that,
than you love yourself.
mhm.
Well, that's how my mama brought me up, and that's how. Okay,
Mhm.
so now we're seeing the problem.
Mhm.
we could blame your mom, but let's not even blame, like in Carter's situation, we're not even going to blame the aunt. I
Mm-mm.
put her on blast because I mean I
Mhm.
wanted you to understand the case study, but
Mhm.
we're not even blaming her mom. We're gonna
Mhm.
blame Carter, and
You
another way to
should.
say blame is we're
Mhm.
gonna give Carter his power back because
Mhm.
Carter, as you said,
Mhm.
Carter doesn't have to stay in that situation or
Mhm.
that mindset. He
Mhm.
can start to say to himself, "No, I
Mhm.
am a wonderful person. I'm gonna
Mhm.
affirm myself."
Mhm. Mhm.
And in the vein that I'm talking about this,
Mhm.
loving yourself is giving yourself the soft
Nisha.
speeches, the kindness, the
Mhm.
caring when you talk to yourself. And so a couple of good ways to do that are literally with your affirmations.
Mhm.
And I learned a word a couple of months ago, aphorisms.
Mm.
So not just affirmation like I'm good, I'm smart, but
Mhm.
aphorisms like you were just talking about. I will overcome this and anything that comes in front of me.
Right.
The
Mhm.
serenity prayer can be a
Mhm.
type of aphorism.
Amazing. Nice. I like
You're
that. Mhm.
right. You're really able to say not
Mhm.
just who you
Mhm.
are and define yourself, which is critically
Mhm.
important, but you can
Mhm.
define your path.
Mhm.
And that's where you start to get into
Mhm.
more of an aphorism as well as an affirmation.
Mhm.
The other thing that I want to emphasize and ask you about is identity. I think identity is the most underrated quality. And I think you alluded to it earlier when you talked about being a people pleaser. I think people create identities that they think will keep them safe,
The false
and they
self.
don't
Mhm.
recognize that there's
It's worse.
yeah,
Mhm.
there's a whole
Mhm.
different group, there's a whole
Mhm.
world of
Mhm.
different options for defining
Mhm.
yourself,
Mhm.
and you're looking for what's most authentic to you.
Mhm.
So when you were talking about taking time for yourself, I would even add in take time for hobbies or volunteerism, like we were talking about in the last segment,
Mhm.
so that
Mhm.
you can find yourself, find out what you like to do by yourself.
Mhm.
And so what's your reflection on that
Mhm.
opportunity when
Mhm.
when a person starts to develop their identity and
Mhm.
who they are as a
Mhm.
person
Mhm.
and they present that to the world?
Mhm. Mhm. Good, very good point. So listen, a person can't will never know who they are, their true
Mm,
identity, if they keep living that false self. And there was a reason why I dropped that in the beginning, right? And so again, that self awareness said that we recognize that I've been doing things, um, I have been behaving in ways, but I really don't like that. That
mm,
is not who I am. And so, and sometimes it can be very singly because you're really just trying to find who you are, and
mhm,
that may not be good with people because they themselves have issues, and so it may rub people the wrong way because you're just really just trying to be the best you can, who you are at the core. You're not trying to be mean to people. You're not trying to be too giving. People walk and take advantage of you. You're just trying to understand who you are, right? And so, in order to do
mhm,
that in a way that is healthy, and you said it, Michael, is that to find yourself in spaces that you never once before. And if it's a person who say yes, yes all the time, say no sometimes, and just see how you feel,
mhm.
right? If you're a person who is giving,
Wow.
giving all the time, say I don't feel like doing it today. And just see what that does, right? How people would react to you. Are people reacting to you because you give, give, give all the time? Can they respect that you don't have? How they shop for you when you say I don't have, right? If you're a person who stays home and in the house and you watch TV, find yourself on the outside and give. You said that, right? Give your true grace and talent to some needy folks. The community may have a basketball court with the young boys. They might need to learn how to play basketball, and you have that skill. Go and genuinely do that, right? Find yourself doing things that you enjoy, not what somebody else wants you to enjoy, right?
Mm,
I
that's
say to
good.
people, Dr. Wright, that I am a very shy person. Can you believe that? For real, I am. I have learned, and that is not my true self. So, because of whatever it was, I have learned to mask behaviors and show up in groups and take over groups because I'm trying to mask so people don't think I am a certain way. And then I realized, but Gil, that's not who you really are. You like your space. You like, and you don't. So I am learning for real to own truly who I am at the core.
Yeah,
So I can be the best for whomever it is that I need to be in spaces with, right? So
definitely.
do things differently than you're used
Yeah,
to and see
yeah.
how it
There's a popular term for that now, that's gaining more popularity: holding space.
holding space.
Make space for yourself. Create space for yourself. Take up space.
Take up space, leveling up.
Yeah,
Level up,
definitely.
step up, and show up, honey,
All day, every day. All
all the time.
right. Final thoughts after this 30-second break. All right.
So,
So, what we're talking about with our Carter case study is a movement from self-criticism to self-compassion, and we've provided some different avenues, some specifics for this to happen with him. What do you want to leave people with today, Dr. Galen?
so in order to come to that self-awareness in knowing who you are, moving forward into the stages of growth, health, and development, um, one of the things that helped me along that journey is learning how to let go. Letting go. So there's a book that I read. I mean, I'm not promoting this guy. I don't know who he is. It's just that it was good, right? David Harkson, MD. The part of surrendering, letting go of what auntie did,
Mm,
what granny do, what didn't happen for me, just let that go. And then and so those are part of the healing process for me and the stages that get me to where I need to go. And then Devon Franklin, I can't stand him sometimes because he's so right. Lord, please. And if you hear this, I'm serious, right? But the book was, he talked in the book, living free of other people's expectations. And so once you learn to let those things go, letting go, and not holding people ransom and hostage of how they show up, when they show up, what they didn't do, and how they didn't do it, letting go of those expectations will get you to live a surrendered life to a part that is fully healed, right? Holistically, right?
mm.
So let go, surrender, right? From the past, and let go of people's expectations.
Wonderful, wonderful. We're gonna leave it right there. Wonderfully said. Surrender. I'm sure that'll be a theme that we talk about more and more as time goes
Hmm.
on this podcast. Thank you,
Hmm.
Dr. Gail Land.
Hey, thank you, sir. I appreciate
Back
you.
again next week.
Yep. Have a great week. We'll talk more. All right. Bye bye.
Definitely.